Hello and welcome to Chatz8 Television Podcast, Season 15, Chatz8. Each week we watch and discuss 2 episodes of the Netflix original series, Sense8. My name is Alan, and as always, I have the pleasure of being joined by an underappreciated member of the Sense8 production crew. This time, it was the location scout who found 8 distinct hospitals to film very explicit birthing scenes in. It's Magellan.
Well, you know, we just wanted to challenge the audience to think of the world as one big hospital. You know, in the location scouting business, I think often it's about finding the right place, but it's not about placing the right find. And what I mean by that is,
some of us have C-sections.
exactly.
And some of us have a water birth. We'll talk about it, but it's just that, like, someone said, we need birthing to be diverse. How can we diversify the birthing process? Okay, what other kind of types of births are there? Water birth,
right?
A C-section. Okay, how about and then just 6 totally standard maternal births? That's fine.
Yeah. This is definitely a slate of births designed by 2010s like liberal ideology.
Yep.
It's cool. I mean, it's awesome. And also that's kind of funny. That
if you want to see cool, that they were like, what's the different types of birthing?
Yeah, I mean, also because it's like, you know, it has to be visually different and it has to be characterful and, you know, but it is sort of like, we got to do all 8 of them. So let's figure out what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you want to see explicit birthing scenes, you should watch Station 11. That has one of the most bananas episodes about pregnancy and childbirth that I've ever seen on television. Oh, baby.
Okay.
Not adapted from the book. They made it for the show. Anyways, this is not a Station 11 podcast yet. It's a Sense8 podcast for now. And I'm your stalwart co-host, and he's my other stalwart co-host, and we're here to watch Sense8 together with you, the viewer.
Meow.
Meow? Or yeah?
Meow. It just felt like something to say.
Didn't someone say meow in something that we watched this week? Or was that in the pilot chats thing?
That was in the pilot chats that we're recording after this.
Okay. Don't
sorry to distract.
It's okay. You're good, because we're talking about Season 1, Episode 9 of Sense8 Season 1, Death Doesn't Let You Say Goodbye, and Season 1, Episode 10, What is Human? Death Doesn't Let You Say Goodbye was written by Lily and Lana Wachowski, as well as J. Michael Straczynski. It is directed by Lily and Lana Wachowski, and it aired with the rest of Season 1 on June 5th, 2015 on Netflix. Magellan, what happened in Death Doesn't Let You Say Goodbye?
In this episode, Riley learns about her new life and its dangers. Kala deals with the aftermath of the attack on Rajan's father, and Lito's world spins out of control. Alan, what do you think of Death Doesn't Let You Say Goodbye?
You know that TikTok of the guy snoring? Here's the audio of it. Thank you, editor Alan. Appreciate that. Oh, honk shoo me.
You gotta explain that. I've been laughing about that for weeks.
I got it from those memes that are like, Drake, the type of guy who.
Sorry,
blah,
those
blah.
honk shoot me memes, you mean?
Oh my god, hold on. Yes. The Drake meme leads to honk shoo me memes. One of them says, Drake, the type of guy that wears a cap and a sleeping gown and holds a candle at night and walks up to the kitchen, and then he falls asleep and goes honk shoo me like me like a cartoon man. But the way it's written is honk shoo me, which if you just say it like that is the funniest thing in the world, and Magellan loves it when I do that, so that's why I do it. It's great. That's how you be sleeping.
Yeah, it is how I be sleeping. Listen, I saw a pulmonologist to look into the sleep apnea thing, so we'll see the results
how
of the
I be
sleep
sleeping.
study.
If it's honk shoo me or honk shoo choke or
Right, exactly. Honk shoot choke, wake up in a micro moment that I don't even register as waking up, but actually I'm waking up constantly. Yikes. Did you know you have to be awake? It's a certain number of seconds before your brain knows that you're awake. Yeah. Basically. So that That's a thing.
I've thought about that when I have like bad dreams that end awkwardly. Is that there's a couple seconds at the end where I'm like, oh god, wait, am I awake? In this dream, I'm in my bedroom. Oh, I'm in my bedroom. Ah, fuck, I'm awake. Okay, now I'm awake. Really, now I'm consciously awake.
Right.
Speaking of awakened to sleep, I have mixed feelings about this episode, right? Because we are now in the back end of Sense8 season 1, which is when the show starts to really dump a lot of backstory and plot that I don't particularly love. But that also happens to be at the apex, the sort of crescendo of a lot of the season's greatest arcs. And, you know, I'm torn. There are parts where I'm like, and we'll talk about them, where I'm like, God, this is just this TV at its finest. I really, if I had better capacity to show and express emotions, I would be bawling my eyes out right now. But I'm on the cusp. And then there are other scenes where I'm basically falling asleep because Riley is getting a fucking lore dump, and I'm so bored. So really mixed bag here this week. What about you?
Yeah, I think there's some characterful stuff in here that is some of the best. I'm thinking particularly of the Nomi and Lito scenes or sequence here.
Yeah, for sure.
Was like, yeah, it was awesome. And then I think there's some great Riley Capheus stuff in here, and those sorts of things are working for me. But then I agree with you that we're also getting some like, here's now like a term for the whole Sicilium thing, and like Jonas is evil maybe. Whoa, that's something. And what's Whisper's deal and the BPO, and there's like kind of main plot stuff that I still don't know if I'm on board with it as like a thing, you know, because I'm so here for the part of Sense8 that is like 8 different characters are in each other's brains, and that's just like a thing, and they're experiencing each other's lives and helping each other out. And I don't know if I'm as here for like the show that has this conspiracy plot about how some people are telepathic and there's a shadow organization that wants to hunt them down or whatever. Like that stuff feels, I don't know, just like the way that that's plotted out feels very familiar to me in a way that isn't super engaging. And I think there are other shows that do this kind of thing in a way that's like a little more interesting and original, like a show like Orphan Black. You know, I only saw the first maybe couple seasons, but it has a similar thing going on of like, there are clones, there's bad people who want to get the clones, and what's going on? Yeah. And in that show, it kind of like the sci-fi matches the plot, and here the sci-fi thing doesn't always match the plot for me, because you could just as easily do a show that's as awesome where you're just like 8 people can go into each other's brains and that's it. We're not going to explain it. We're just going to do that and see what's up with that.
I don't know if the modern TV landscape like permits that anymore, though. I also would love just that show, but to have no overarching plot, to have no mystery to solve is
right. I mean, I think especially like Netflix 2015.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge budget. Like, yeah, you're never going to get them to make Sense8 on Netflix in 2015 with the Wachowskis for $1 bajillion as like a slice of life dramedy. Like that was not going to occur. But you know, that I think is just like representative of a principal thing that I don't like in TV all the time, which is like it needs to be TV-y, and some of this stuff feels a little TV-y to me.
Definitely. And it's a little disappointing, but the parts that are good are really good, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah, so let's do that.
This episode starts with the subtitles, "Sing softly in Icelandic, voice echoing." And I was like, yes, vibes. Let's go. We're in Iceland. Riley's here. We got a plot. And maybe we'll have to re-rank the Sense8s this week or next week. But I just find myself dropping her lower than even Will's plot at this point, because
Whoa, okay. Why is that?
yeah, man. Well, her plot now deals with just to like give the overarching piece of these 2 episodes. We learn why she has a fear of driving in the second episode. We learn that she has a fear of driving in this one. We learn why in the second one. We learned that her mother knew a woman named Yrsa, who she meets here in Iceland because she was contacted by her. And this woman is distrustful of Jonas. And when she can tell that Riley is speaking to Will, who is speaking to Jonas, then she's like, don't trust him. He's lying to you guys. He's working with whispers. I feel like it's pretty obvious that she's lying. What about you? Did that seem clear, or are you still unsure? I also don't know. I don't remember, to be clear.
It's plausible to me that Jonas and Angelica could have been bad guys who've turned good, and like that kind of makes Jonas more interesting to me, honestly. If there's some truth to it, I think it's somewhere in the middle, probably. Like, Jonas is not a faultless guy, and also she's probably not entirely right about him being a villain. I think there must be some kind of gray area or some actions that he took that he felt were justified, but later he's thinking they aren't. That's the sort of thing that it's probably going to be that makes Jonas and Angelica more complicated, more interesting to me. I think the part of this that feels the richest is like this philosophical difference that they have about there being love within a cluster, because she describes it as essentially like really narcissistic. She points out, and we learn that when a cluster is born, they're all born at the same time. They all have the same birthday, and I guess are born in the same moment. And that's part of what like binds them together as a cluster. So she says love inside a cluster is pathological. It's the worst kind of narcissism. And Jonas says Angelica believed a Sense8 experiences love in its purest form. And that's a really interesting philosophical disagreement that I hope the show continues to explore, because I think there are character pairings that argue for either side of that, right? There are Sense8s who are finding love within the cluster, and there are an equal amount of Sense8s who have like really rich, deep relationships with people who are not in their brain all the time. And like, are both of those love? Are they the same thing? Is one better or worse than the other, or what? That's an intriguing debate to me.
Yeah, this is the value of having like people who know what's going on in the world of Sense8 and be able to talk about the different perspectives. Is like inherently being in a Sense8 cluster with other people allows for a certain type of love. And we have talked on the podcast about like how romance and sexual attraction can be similar to like being a part of someone else or being intertwined with someone else. And the show's been making us think about that a lot. I've like really enjoyed how it has even like affected my day-to-day life and how I think about my relationships with people. But yeah, what these characters are debating is like, is that cool, or is that almost fucked up in a way that like it's so close that like what makes us different anymore? Do we want everybody to be, even like on a broader picture, this debate brings up like, do we want everybody to be Sense8s? Like almost like the X-Men mutant metaphor or something. Is it worth it if everyone was connected? Is that good? Or and then if you, let's go one more galaxy brain take, should we do the Evangelion like big existential soup thing where we're all one being?
We're all in one big brain, right?
Yeah, that's season 2.
Yeah, I think that's where the like sci-fi plot of this is engaging to me, is like you're saying, when we can gather together characters who like have opinions on the mechanics of the concept, and then they can talk about or gesture towards the implications of that concept on our own lived experience. And it's not as interesting when it's like Whispers is coming to kill you and the BPO is whatever, blah blah blah, anyway.
BPO,
so
what does it stand for again? Biologic Preservation Organization.
Oh, I thought it was big penis Onergy.
Onergy.
So
Onergy.
here's my thing with, just to go back to Riley. It's a choice, and I don't know how I feel about it, but like every other Sense8, they've been very clear about their past. I feel like
Yes.
we get explicit flashbacks of Wolfgang's past with his dad. We have this thing with Will that is like a dream that he's having, but maybe there's some kind of past connection with this person who disappeared that they've been setting up for a while, and maybe then they're going to clarify more later. But with Riley, it's like they're now starting to invent stuff for her, or like, oh, it feels like it's almost like they're retconning her because they're bringing up, like, maybe this is the next episode, but the stuff with her husband
mom?
who passed away.
The husband stuff is mostly in the second episode. This one mostly concerns
episode.
her mom.
Yeah. And I was even getting a little bit confused of, like, between those two things of, okay, which part of Riley's past are we surfacing now? I don't know. So it kind of felt like they'd spent all this time just having her plot be vibes, and then they were like, okay, now she needs to like have a past or something. And that's where there's a disconnect for me, or it's not quite working.
According to the wiki, the big husband thing where she visits his grave is in this. Oh, it totally is in this episode. It's like brief.
Okay.
While we're on Riley, I guess then we can just talk about it. Basically, Yrsa tells her, that's like psychelium or whatever. It's like the connecting energy between all of you people. It's very matrixy. It's very, it's a psychic nervous system. That's what it is.
Which is a cool concept. I don't mean to, poo-poo it too much.
No, it's cool to make him. That's not midichlorians, right? That's like you're making a mechanic out of, or something tangible out of something that has not been tangible at all so far. And then pivoting from there, Sven, who we saw earlier, drives Riley to a graveyard. He parks like an asshole. He like triple parks, but no one else is there. It's fine. She says that her and her father used to like visit the graves here, and they would play music and sit with them. She doesn't want to go, but she's like she should, and she goes and visits the grave of two people, Magnus, who she has a flashback to, her deceased husband, and we learn how he died in the second one. That's what it is. And she talks about like how it feels like when she first met him that it wasn't real, and we see this scene of him coming into like her school, like her university, on a horse. And he looks like fucking the guy from Frozen, like the boyfriend from Frozen. I was like, what is this? And the whole point is that it doesn't seem real. Like I'm okay with that, but it seems weird. And then there's also someone named Luna, who again we'll learn about in the second episode, or we'll talk about in the second episode. That's a little bit more dark, if you ask me. I don't know. I agree, though. It feels like they're almost retconning a plot line just to give Riley something to be sad about. But also, otherwise, she's just like a sad DJ, and there isn't much to that. Whereas everyone else has like reasons for why that they are sad.
Yeah, it's just a little strange. I mean, I guess. Okay, let me be on the other side of this critique for a second.
Okay.
You could make the case. Riley is someone who is like compartmentalizing her past, avoiding something, and it's because she's in Iceland that now these things are surfacing, which I guess makes sense because like she's the only one of the Sense8s who was in a place other than where they were from at the time of us joining their stories.
Yes, she's more in Iceland.
So like there's logic to it, but I think from a like audience member interacting with the story perspective, we spent all this time being like, okay, Riley's dad. She's going to go visit her dad. And then she shows up and she's like, hey, Dad. And he's like, hey, what's up? Anyway, I'll see you later. I'm doing the concert.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go do some other Iceland plot stuff that has nothing to do with you. So I'll see you tonight. And that's kind of a weird thing.
Close the book on that, basically.
Yeah.
Suddenly. I felt the same about the Will stuff in this episode, which is in parallel, obviously, because these two characters matter to each other a lot.
Yeah.
Flashbacks to Sarah Petrel, whispers, don't look at him. If you look at him, that's how he takes your power. Very nonsense, foofy sci-fi weird thing. Nothing interesting about that to me.
I will say the one thing that was really awesome from the Will stuff, I like his interactions with Jonas.
Yes, that's
I think Jonas is cool. He's a cool character who's interesting to talk to. And they keep finding new ways to visually represent a sub-concept of this concept, because we end up in the situation where like Will is linking up with Jonas and Riley is talking to her friend. And so like Will and Riley are in the middle talking to each other, and each of them can bop to somebody else who is there. But we learn that like when two people are visiting the same person, that doesn't mean they can see each other. And Jonas also tells us that when you're visiting, you're a voice in the other person's head. And when you are being visited, you are actually speaking out loud wherever you are.
That's cool. So and it explains something that we've only seen like through camera tricks so far.
Right. And so there's this really cool sequence of, they keep doing these whip pans and these match cuts and stuff where like Will's turning his head and he was in the room with Jonas, but now all of a sudden he's in his own room, but now he's in Riley's room, like boom, 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 or the cave she's in. It looks really cool, and it's easy to follow, which is like an incredible accomplishment and can't be understated how easy it is to understand what's going on in this show that is so fucking confusing. If it handled in any other hands. So that stuff I liked. But yeah, otherwise Will's just like talking to Jonas, and that's the most interesting thing he does this week.
Exactly. And the last reveal from that stuff is one of the, like, I'm so curious how you felt about this. All the Sense8s were born on the same day. Because they are the August cluster, August 8th. And if it was the same exact day, then it probably means that they were born on August 8th, 1988, which, let's do a little math here, gamers.
Oh, come on.
If it's August 8th, 88, and the show takes place in 2015, then they're all 27 years old. Do you think that tracks? Because they were all born on the same day.
Oh, I thought you were pointing out the fact that their birthday is 8888.
It is. I'm also pointing that out. I'm pointing out a couple things. One, it's 8888. That's hilarious. Sense8, we get it, guys. That's really cute.
Gag. What a gag.
But also, the years work out that these characters are all probably in the range of 27 years old. I think that's kind of cool. Not only are they all from different places, but they're all the same age. It kind of flattens the storytelling potential. I think it would be great to have more about like children who are Sense8s and realizing that. And also, we've seen like elderly people, like Yrsa is a Sense8 who's older, and Jonas is, and Angelica is, but I would like a plot line about an older Sense8, but the show has now like locked in that these people are all the exact same age, and I'm fine with it, honestly.
Right. Yeah, if this were a big comic book or a show that ran longer, maybe we would see like, oh, now there's this other cluster and they're 12 or they're 44 or whatever, and that's the whole thing, which would be cool. But that's some good sleuthing you did there on the numbers.
Someone clearly thought about it, because it's a number that tracks close enough for the characters. Like, it's not wildly implausible. A couple of other quick hits, but honestly, Will and Riley were the majority of this episode. Starting with Wolfgang, who's sitting with Felix in the hospital, and they see Sergei, his uncle and the father of Steiner, the bad guy who we later learned is named Steiner. He just says some vaguely threatening things. Him and Felix are, Wolfgang and Felix are his family. He tells Felix never listen to doctors. All they know is death. And then he again references Anton, Wolfgang's father, what is it? Life is just 5 things: eating, shitting, drinking, fucking, and fighting for more. As if, again, this is like a real normal thing people say. It's not.
Yeah, that was silly. It's like you can't invent a phrase and then the next episode be like that famous phrase.
And they use it here to say that, like, after Wolfgang's father was killed, Sergei's like, now I believe life to only be revenge. So I love you, Wolfgang, but don't make me choose between you and my son. So we'll see how that goofy, silly plot develops. I feel like I'm in like not Crank, but like a weird action movie now that's like in its dumb second act, or the end of its second act. But do you have any notes on Sun's plot? I don't have much here about her. She was in this episode.
Yeah, let me skim my notes here. The main thing, I think it's literally a scene.
Yeah.
The main thing is that her dad comes to visit her and says that he's going to tell the truth.
Do we believe him?
That's it. I'm not sure. I think so. I think I believe that he intends to do that, and I wonder what's going to happen to him because that's his intention.
Right, it's Sense8, so either he does it, and it's like, wow, you're a good person, and then he dies, or he's lying, and or he does tell them, and it gets worse, makes things worse for Sun. He's like, oh, I'm so, nice. Right. Both of us noted that the corniness of this scene, actually the last scene, one of the Lito scenes, so when we talk about Lito, we'll talk about the song, but that song bleeds into this Sun scene, and it's kind of cool. But let's not unbury that lead just yet. We have some Nomi and Kala stuff, both separately. Kala mostly, she's making chai. She's worried about Rajan. He's embarrassed to tell her some things. I don't have much about this. We learned that his mother's name is Manendra. I'm sorry, Manendra hospital room. No, isn't that his dad, actually? Yes. Names. They're really important sometimes. Prayer, marriage.
Yeah, basically what happens is Rajan's mother asks Kala to come up to see her, and she explains that she used to be a religious woman before she married Rajan's father, and she asks Kala to pray with her for him, which is this nice, tender moment of connection, and is obviously not something he would have wanted because he's very anti-religious. So they're just reminding us, like, this is the thing, this is the tension going on in this plot, with a nice moment of her requesting that from Kala.
Also, police thinking that she's involved in the killing of Rajan's dad, or the stabbing. Like the police talking to her earlier. She's like, wow, seriously? So cops are bad everywhere, you guys. We figured it out. I like that they are portraying her religion positively. I read a take. I like stumbled into a take about this plot line recently that was like, this plot line is digging into some really harmful anti-Asian stereotypes, and I was like, yeah, and they were like, it's about how, like, being an Asian man, like, they're making fun of Asian men. I was like, wait, what are you saying? And it's like, she chooses the white guy because he's more masculine over her, like, sort of more like sensitive Asian husband, her Indian husband. I was like, wait, what did you get out of this show? What do you mean? Because it's this thing of, like, it is a common trope that, like, the quote unquote good Indian girl, instead of being with her, like, wonderful husband, chooses the, like, hot white guy. Like, that's a trope, and it's pretty harmful. It kind of ties into this, like, oh, we're better, you chose the good side, and that type of racism. That's kind of like a really bad faith take on the plot line, though, because she's not like, I saw both options and I picked this. It's like, this person is literally a miracle to me. Their existence to me is a miracle, and I need to look into that and follow my heart and believe what I believe, and not, like, Rajan is not portrayed as, like, a weak, like, sad man here. Just circumstances happening.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, like, there being that lens on this plot. I think in a vacuum, her plot feels reasonable to me, but I can understand, like, in a larger context, that being a thing. But yeah, I agree with you that that doesn't quite feel like what's going on here.
I don't. Yeah, it just seemed like, hey, you watched this plot and had your take and then took it to the end. But we can also see how it develops.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rajan tried to have his dad killed. So
also, yeah, I think that's the case. Yes.
So we shall see.
Brief check-in with Capheus as he comforts Riley and tells her the title of the episode, which is that death doesn't let you say goodbye. Or she tells him that, rather, because she's worried about Death can carve holes in people's lives and their future and their heart, but you can't like fill it. It's a pretty mature discussion of grief from our two faves here.
Yeah.
Capheus brings out the best in Riley is what I wrote. It's like he gets her to talk about her feelings in a way that the rest of her plotline isn't really letting her do. Because the rest of her plotline is like, don't you know you're special? Don't you know that you're dealing with bad people? And she's like, I don't know. And then he's like, are you really sad that your husband died? Yes. Okay. That's okay. You're allowed to grieve that. It's not, you don't have to erase that.
Yeah. Capheus's optimism is very infectious. And I just love seeing him paired with other Sense8s who are having a bad time. For him to be like, but what if good time instead?
And the sad thing, and I think about this in real life, but like sometimes the nicest people have the saddest backstories, right? Or they have the saddest like experience that led to them being a nice person.
Right. Clearly that optimism in this plot is born out of like very dire life circumstances. And he's learned to be like, well, this is how you persist and remain resilient, is you like seek out the best in life and make do with what you can get.
He tells her about when he was a kid, he had a younger sister. God, my roommate guessed he made the prediction that the sister is the girl that he's taking care of for Silas, which is way too out there in my opinion, but it's a fun take. His sister was taken away when he was a kid because his mother couldn't afford to feed both of them. And so you think like, wow, that's so tragic. But Capheus is like, it's death and life at the same time. You know, we lost her so that she could live a life. She would have died if she stayed with us. And so like losing people and death and life, it's all the same thing. It's all, some endings are just beginnings, which is really beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
And then just before the best plot of the episode, Nomi's back. Amanita's home. I'm happy. The girls are back together. Not much to say here other than it made me really happy.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Lito now? I can tell you want to talk about Lito.
Is there anybody else to discuss, or should we just?
I think I hit everybody.
To this plot?
Unless there's anything else you wanted to dig into.
Nah, I don't think so.
What's this? Felix and Wolfgang are watching Conan when Felix's dad pulls up. We can talk about that in straight notes. I'll save that for straight notes. Yeah, let's get to Lito. The guitar version of the theme song in the bar.
I don't think I noticed that.
You were too busy paying attention to the extremely gay bartender who I pegged before he said a single word.
Oh.
They just light him. It's gay lighting, and not even like the blue and red kind. It's like just a certain soft lighting that I'm like, this guy is being portrayed as a romantic like cohort of Lito right now. What's going on here?
It's gay plotting also. Like you just you know that this is what the plot point is going to be.
For sure.
In this moment, yeah.
The guy flirts with him. He knows he's an actor. He's in a bar. He's depressed. Lito's depressed about Hernando. But when the guy makes a move at him, he recoils and he says he's not an F slur. Not the first time in these episodes that somebody uses that word.
Isn't it?
No, sorry. This is the first, but not the last. That's what I meant.
Yeah, well, and I clarify that because I think that's really thematically important. That
it's Lito who
first
says it.
That Lito is the first character who says it in the show.
It's sad.
Yeah,
and it's really characterful that he's the one who says it too.
Right. Well, because not to totally give away where the plot goes, but what Nomi's lesson is for Lito is that like the real violence that is unforgivable is the violence we do to ourselves.
Yes, dude.
And that's the first time we hear that word is out of Lito's mouth, and then we hear it in Nomi's flashback. And I just thought that was like such a powerful way to illustrate that point, and to like right now in this moment make us feel like, oh God, Lito, like that's a terrible thing to say, and I feel so bad for you. That, you know what I mean? So
somebody like Lito is also capable like of feeling tragedy and heartbreak like all the rest of us.
Yeah.
It is a show that constantly pushes us to empathize as well, and reminds us that sometimes when you're in your own head, you can be your worst enemy, and it sometimes takes the like other people in your community to just like give you the nudge, which leads to eventually we'll talk about my favorite scene of the episode. But We get some flashbacks, by the way, in the museum. This is how we build up to the best part. But Mad World is playing while Lito and Hernando are looking at art.
Uh-huh.
I wrote to you, this is a rare example where you're allowed to use that song. It's like basically illegal to use it in 2022 at this point, or even 2015. It was corny, but
this was giving like Where Is My Mind Leftovers vibes for me.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason it worked for me was like Lito's melodramatic. Lito's really melodramatic. So the music in his scenes is like the slider is cranked so far up that it breaks. But yeah, Mad World really like it's been memed to death at this point.
Yeah.
Hernando's the sexiest man alive as he explains the value of art and why Diego Rivera is incredibly cool and how Frida Kahlo was the best thing in his life. And what was amazing for me, like as an immersive experience, was when I went to San Francisco for the first time in October. I went to the SF MoMA, and the best experience I had was the Diego Rivera exhibit. And then Nomi, who's from San Francisco, comes into the scene, and I was like, whoa, it's San Francisco and Mexico City, and they're related, and culturally, like the way culture transfers over, and museum art, oh, it's so good, man. Nomi coming into the scene and teaching Lito how to fucking love again, because nobody's worse to you than yourself, is that's the juice, that's the meat. This is exactly what I want.
Yeah, definitely.
I choked up. Did you write any quotes down from these scenes? This is just the best. Everything. Yeah,
I wrote a few down. I mean, this is one of the best sequences the show has done, I think.
Agreed.
And like what both of these episodes feature that are their highlights are moments where Sense8s can exchange life experiences, exchange advice, exchange skills to help each other. And in the second episode, there's some like cheesy versions of that are fun. And this is just like the deepest part of the heart of this show.
Yeah, cutting to the core of what it's about also.
Yeah. There's the first quote I wrote down is when Lito's describing having sex with Hernando for the first time and says when he talks about how he's giving Hernando fellatio for the first time, he says that he took him into my mouth like I was taking Holy Communion, which is such a beautiful way to say that.
Oh my God, I'm blushing. I blushed when I watched it. Yeah. I'm blushing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the line I wrote down too.
Yeah. Nomi gives incredible advice to Lito in this scene. The first piece of which is he's talking about, I'm risking everything I've worked for. And Nomi says there's a huge difference between what we work for and what we live for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leftist Nomi.
Yeah. And then when Nomi describes her experience in the locker room, the three things that struck me from that, first of all, are when we cut from the flashback and the most traumatic part of the flashback back to the conversation, Nomi's dripping wet from the memory.
Right.
Which
you
is
feel
like,
the pain of the memory. Like literally it's manifested as she is wet in the present.
It's this like it's so brief, and it's this impressionistic thing that there's been no point before where we've understood Sense8s to like do that kind of thing or experience that kind of thing with their memories. But the fact that Nomi's visiting Lito and sharing something so raw, like her projected psychic self is bearing the signs of that. And I just thought that was like a really, really powerful, quick visual thing. Like blink and you miss it. But I thought that was great. Nomi says that the experience made me the woman that I am, which is a line that is
packed full of peanuts and meaning.
Yes, exactly right. Packed full of peanuts and meaning. And then the last part, the part that I have down word for word that I alluded to before, the real violence, the violence that I realized was unforgivable, is the violence we do to ourselves when we're too afraid to be who we are. And
that was the line that made me tear up.
That's the thing that Lito needed to hear.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing I needed to hear. God damn it.
Yeah.
This is just amazing. You said all the best parts. I want to also highlight the really delicate balance of like the overt sexuality of Lito's description of fellatio, and you're like, wow, queerness is having like nasty sex in public. And then literally like milliseconds later, we pan over and Nomi's talking about the most traumatic experience she had pre-transition and in her entire life. Yeah. And like for those to both exist in the same scene is a really good microcosm of the queer experience, is that it contains multitudes. It contains the worst tragedy and trauma of your life, and also contains pure, almost supernatural bliss.
Ecstatic joy, yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really deftly done, and I applaud the writers and creators of the show for putting this scene together, because it's just like you don't see this. You don't see this anywhere else, honestly.
For sure.
Yeah. My last big note about Nomi, by the way, was just when we can keep talking about this, but just like, did you catch the part where Amanita is like, oh, how did you get out of being chased by the police after all of that stuff? And she just goes, oh, I used Will's number, like his cop number, to close my case.
Which is pretty cool.
The most clever, like, we don't want to deal with this plot anymore. It's done. Cops can do whatever they want. She's a wanted criminal. And she goes, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I used my magic hacking powers to use my friend's magic cop powers. It's like the perfect storm of just fiat.
Yeah, exactly. And then more Lito stuff. This is when he gets very sad. We get a really elegant cover of Knocking on Heaven's Door. Is elegant the word I want, or is cheesy the word I want? I can't tell.
Cheesy. Cheesy's the word you want.
Maximum cheese. We're talking the Ben and Jerry's tipped over. We're talking going into the hot tub with the clothes on. We're talking leaving voicemails for your ex until the fucking mailbox is full. We're talking
Gutting.
We're talking he's so drunk he can't turn the bathtub on, and he's calling Hernando to be like, Hernando, this one's not about me wanting to be back together. I just don't know how. Can you fix the bathtub?
Mm-hmm. Well, and it ends with him going to shoot himself with what turns out to be a gag gun that's actually a cigarette lighter. Oh. And then he says, it's fake, like everything in my life. I'm a fake, I'm a liar. All I know how to do is lie. And
cut to credits.
That's
like, what? Oh my God. Mm-hmm. High drama. Seriously. I mean, if we're to keep running with the assumption and the understanding that Sense8 is like doing each of these shows as pastiches of like what they are based on, like Lito is in a telenovela.
This is very melodramatic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense for his character to do this. If Riley did this and she's in like a modern prestige drama, I would think it's really ridiculous and weird. But it makes perfect sense for Lito to be this guy.
That is kind of cool how the show can hold that. It can have characters that are like in the same world, but can do things that the other characters wouldn't be allowed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
And I want them to do more of that, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible episode. Hope that Lito's going to be okay. We know he probably will be. We watched the second one. Do you have any stray notes on this one? I have to cut out 15 minutes of Yrsa talk to get this episode down. That's the only part of this discussion that I didn't particularly care. Not the discussion, but the episode I didn't really care for.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, great.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Great, is what I was trying to say. Well, thanks, King. We'll be right back after this brief musical break to discuss what is human.
Welcome back to Chatz8. The second episode we watched this week was Season 1, Episode 10, entitled, What is Human? It was written by Lily and Lana Wachowski and J. Michael Straczynski and directed by Lily and Lana Wachowski. It aired on June 5th, 2015, which is when all of season 1 dropped on Netflix. Clonk! Alan, what happened in this episode of Sense8?
In this episode, Will learns more about his origins and the threat to his future, while Wolfgang's actions catch up with him, even as his bond with Kala strengthens. Did I do a bump and grind motion while saying his bond? Maybe. You'll have to find out.
I don't see nothing wrong. Sorry.
With a little bump and grind?
Yeah. Probably shouldn't reference that song.
Why? Wait.
Because I do see something wrong.
Oh.
With the singer.
Oh, that's R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting that, unless you want me to cut that.
No, you can keep it.
Okay. Great. What did you think about the episode?
What did I think about this one?
What is human?
I think I thought this one was pretty good. Here's what happened to me. I have to stop thinking that I can watch Sense8 in public because then the characters start to have sex with each other on my screen.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at the cafe. I have this lovely laptop, the Asus ZenBook Duo. So it's got the main screen and it's got a smaller screen underneath. So I was at a cafe with Roommate of the Pod Charlie, and I had the show on my lower screen. And silly me, I'm thinking I can like toggle between my stuff and take my notes. And down there, it's just Will Gorski and his dad, Joey Pan, sitting on a fishing boat talking about cop stuff and waiting for the fireworks to happen. Lo and behold, now it's become the most tender, beautifully lit sex scene that is all sex all over my screen.
Yum, dude.
From that point forward, I was very timidly like, I'm going to keep the show on another tab. All right, let me take a look. All right, I think we're good. Oh, it looks like everybody's giving birth right now. All right, let's just put that one. So don't make the mistake I made and watch this show in the comfort of your own home so you can enjoy it and not worry that people are seeing over your shoulder like, what are you watching right now?
I'm the guy from that Survivor gif where he's like, everyone else is looking at something in shock, and I'm like, yes. I watch the show on a big screen TV in public on the train on max volume with speakers. I don't give a fuck, dude.
But I think I remember really liking this one. I think that ending sequence, as much as we're giving it a kind of a hard time earlier, I think it's beautiful and like really cool. And like the previous episode, there's a handful of great character scenes and a handful of plot stuff that I'm like, nah, okay, sure. I guess you got to put that in there too.
Yeah, if you must. Ultimately, I thought that this one was a lot more fun and light than the first one of this week.
Agreed.
And I enjoyed the ensemble scenes. I thought Wolfgang stuff was pretty fun. I thought the fireworks was a great second act moment. And I liked everything with Iceland this episode, believe it or not. It got good again. I like Riley's dad a lot. What can I say? When he plays the good music, I get happy. You wanna get happy? Same. Let's start with the Abraham monologue as all 8 of the Sense8s walk through the Garden of Exile in Germany. Which is a Holocaust memorial, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Intense. Charged imagery. Intentionally charged. This place brings clarity to any decision, though, according to Abraham. Did you like this scene? Did you like seeing all the different Sense8s poking around?
Okay. I have conflicted feelings about this particular scene. I think visually it looks really interesting. It's irrespective of the content of the memorial, the physical shape of it makes for interesting cinematography.
Yep.
And lets you do stuff where like one character disappears behind the thing and another one comes out, and I'm turning the corner and trying to follow you, and like it looks cool. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that I am having uncertain feelings about here is I don't think Wolfgang's Jewish, right?
I don't know.
I don't
think so.
I guess I don't know. It hasn't been explicitly said. Like the fact that I don't know, I think is indicative of the issue here. It just feels like we're using a very like abstract understanding of the Holocaust to ask a very like broad question, which is what he looks at or says. I can't remember where this quote is from, but I wrote down, is the Holocaust an aberration or a reflection of who we really are?
It's on one of the memorials. It's actually
on one of the memorials.
In real life, it's there.
And I have mixed feelings about us like putting a Holocaust memorial at the top of the episode to set up a theme that we then engage with in a very general, non-specific sort of way, you know?
Yeah.
And it also feels weird that the plot that the Sense8s themselves are going through involves them asking questions about like, where Jonas is like, we're a better race of beings than humans. Okay, that's weird. What are you saying? What's happening? And all this stuff about the Sense8s being hunted, and like, maybe you didn't mean to do this, but you have to think that if you're starting an episode with like, you're at a Holocaust memorial, and then you're like, anyway, now here's this story about this group of people who's being hunted by a shadowy government.
The metaphor is there, guys.
It just like doesn't, at best, it's like pretty careless. So I was not a fan of that because there aren't any Jewish characters here. So like, what are we doing? You know?
And if it's the solution that's like, well, that you guys know of, maybe we're gonna learn later that like Will is Jewish, then like, don't make that a plot twist. Don't introduce this first and then do that. Terrible order of operations. And second of all, yeah, you're using the imagery for your own storytelling, and it feels kind of bad. And I like, okay, maybe Wolfgang is not Jewish, but he is German, and German people have a connection to the Holocaust. It's not a positive one. It's not the kind where they're like, I love going here to feel good things. It's one of regret and deep shame and a desire to repent, you know, but
which doesn't sorry, go ahead.
It's not the purview of this show,
right? And that's not even the thematic substance of Wolfgang's plot either, right?
Yeah,
because like the place his plot goes is he takes violent revenge on these guys. So why was he here? He visited here to decide if he wanted to kill someone. Is that what the like narrative logic was? So, you know, it bugs me because I was interested in the way that they kind of threaded in the legacy of the Holocaust when he and Felix were meeting with the guy who was examining the diamonds.
Abraham, yeah.
Because that was like, okay, here's like a person who is in this world and is representative of a handful of ideas that these people are interacting with. But now it's like we're in this very abstract place asking a theme that's basically like killing, good or bad. Anyway, we're going to do this episode where killing fucking rocks. Like, where it's so cool to kill.
Also, like, all of the bad guys in Wolfgang's plot are like clearly completely evil. Yeah. Like this Steiner guy, just evil. It's fine that we shoot him later. Like it's fucking interesting. But like, what are we doing? What's the morality play here? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think it ends up like really muddying things and being a little like, come on, why'd you do that? And then for us to go from that to we learned that Will and Wolfgang like have beef. Maybe Wolfgang doesn't like him, which makes me like Wolfgang more.
Fair enough.
But then I can't remember who Will is visiting with, but they ask, why is it so loud where you are? And he says it's Independence Day. Oh, that's Wolfgang.
He's visiting Wolfgang.
Because then Wolfgang says, what is best in life, huh? Will says, I don't understand. And Wolfgang says, no, you wouldn't. And so then we go to Chicago on the 4th of July. And like, is this show like pro 4th of July? What's happening in this episode?
I think it's the what is best in life is to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women. The show is making me want to watch Conan the Barbarian really badly. I just want to say that before I forget. I think the show has like a sort of neoliberal view on America, and it's this whole like, well, maybe there are problems abound, but like 4th of July, kind of sick. Getting out on a boat with your dad with some beers and some brats, that's freaking fantastic, dude. Having sex with your gay girlfriend in San Francisco, that's freaking sick. That's praxis to me. But like, it's kind of texture without substance. Like it's the outside of a fruit, but it's hollow. You cut inside of it, and there's nothing. There's confetti inside, and it says Happy July 4th, and you're like, what? Where's my durian? It's nothing. They did this so that they could do a fireworks show. It feels like there's no ideology here to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. You saying that Conan quote makes me feel like the critique is a little more substantial than I realized, because I interpreted Wolfgang saying what is best in life to mean like independence is the best thing in life, and Will, you wouldn't understand that because you don't give a shit about that. But
I like that,
I guess. But what you're saying with the Conan quote is Wolfgang is making this critique of like American empire, and Will's like, huh? And Wolfgang's like, yeah, fuck you.
You wouldn't get it.
Out of here.
I also think if it's just a surface level read of it, that he's being a nerd and he's saying, sometimes you got to kill the bad guys. That's why he kills a bad guy later. And Will's like, I don't understand what you mean, because I don't know your full context. But later, when Wolfgang fights Steiner, you're like, oh, that's what he meant. Like, I don't know. It can be interpreted in various ways that range from really stupid and but base level to potentially interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, the Independence Day stuff is just set dressing, I guess. But it just has this kind of like wistful Americana vibe that it's like, okay.
We can all pull up together on the boat and watch the fireworks together. It's a scene that's tied to ecstasy, because in the scene before all of this, Riley shows her dad ecstasy. And so you're like, this is like the adjective ecstasy. Like, this is people feeling joy and something bigger than them, whether it's sex or actual drugs or fireworks. Everyone's feeling something bigger than themselves here.
Yeah, and doing that sex scene when the fireworks are happening saves it for me. From being this like, wait, what? Independence to instead, being like this kind of co-opting of the feelings of the 4th of July for something that the creators of the show believe is like actually worth celebrating. But definitely there's still a little bit of like, wow, the fireworks.
Yeah.
I love them. Anyway.
Fireworks. How did they film this? Did they like film a fireworks show or what? It was pretty impressive. Maybe it's CG.
Yeah. No, it could have just been real fireworks. Who knows?
I don't know how you film in fireworks though, like for safety reasons. I guess you just have a good drone or something. I don't know. It was cool. It was very pretty at the very least, even if it felt substanceless. Personally.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Wolfgang Steiner stuff really quick, since it's one big scene?
Yeah, let's knock that out.
So Breaking Bad came out in 2007, and if there's one key cinematic thing that we learned, it's that putting a bunch of guys in a field with cars and guns is gonna just end really well. And so Wolfgang,
this is so Breaking Bad. You're so right.
That was the first thing I felt. I was like, why am I watching Breaking Bad right now? First of all, Steiner comes to the hospital and is like, hey, motherfucker, I'm going to kill Felix and everybody if you don't give me my diamonds that aren't his. They stole them. They just got there first. He's like, how did you crack it? Wolfgang's like, I cracked it because I'm smart. And he's like, I don't believe you. Most people break these safes. Wolfgang goes home. The way that he hid the diamonds is kind of cute. He froze them in ice in his refrigerator. I love to think that somebody comes over and they're like, I just want to get a drink. And I just get like a cold drink. And he's no. Glug, 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 glug. Ah, delicious. What did I just cough up? Goes to the meetup spot in his BMW, takes off the sunglasses. He's like, don't fight. I'm going to just give it to you. Steiner doesn't believe him. He's like, go check on the diamonds. It's a bomb. If it was a bomb, wouldn't you guys all be dead? He's stupid. That's how I felt about this. They realize that they are real, but they still don't trust him. he's like, well, Wolfgang, I'm not stupid. I'm going to punch you in the gut. Fuck you. He beats him up a bunch. At this point, Wolfgang needs to talk. So he enlists Lito Rodriguez, the #1 fast talker, to tell him how to do this. And to basically be like, hey, Felix did do some bad stuff to get these diamonds. Because he knows that what Steiner wants is to see Felix be embarrassed. He wants to feel masculine and strong. So if we effeminize our best friend, then it'll make him feel good. And in that brief moment of vulnerability, Steiner tries to pull the trigger, misses, and then what is the order of operations? He pulls out the gun. He shoots all the guys who have guns.
Yeah. Lito basically buys Wolfgang the moment that he needs to open up vats and load up all of his shots. I thought you'd laugh at that.
Shots. Okay. Yes. Shots.
No, vats. Opening up vats. Fallout.
Oh, 50%, 75%. He got the 99% on 3 people. Like that kind of vats?
Yeah, that kind of vats.
All right.
It's okay. Maybe if this was like 10 years ago, that would have landed, but yeah, it's okay. Yeah, and then Wolfgang goes to his trunk and pulls out a rocket launcher.
GTA / Breaking Bad. Like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. And the whole time Lito's like, what are you doing? What the heck do you have that for? And he blows the guys up and he's like, hey, thanks for helping me out.
That's a fun bit of like friendly moment.
Yeah. It is pretty cool to see them team up. We haven't really seen them interact before. And there's this thing that happens across, I think it's maybe just this episode or across both, where sensates who you haven't seen talk to each other yet are kind of just like, hey, you're Wolfgang, right? I know you. Anyway, now we're explicitly talking to each other, which is kind of fun.
At this point, they all have to know. We can't keep saying like, what? There's another one in my head? Oh my God, how many of you are there? Like, that doesn't, it's exhausting.
But I like this moment where Lito, it's a little ham-fisted for him to be like, lying's easy, it's what I do.
Yeah.
But I do think it has the sort of fun that like a good RPG session has, where like the bard is able to convince the bad guy to slap himself in the face or something, and you're like, whoa, charisma is so powerful.
Agreed.
That's the feel of it, and that's enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it's talking. Everybody has a skill. We learn later when Lito needs his help that Wolfgang's skill is actually melee fighting. But different than Sun's melee fighting, because she's busy not being in the plot right now. So, do we want to talk about Lito stuff next?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, great. Something. Sensates are pre-humans. Oh, Lito does turn around, and that bartender from last episode. We hope you're binging the show, because literally when you watch them back to back, it feels like 5 minutes later he goes, actually, I am very sad and lonely and want to be with you. But not before drinking, not 3, but 4, but 6 tequila shots. Making out with the bartender and then leaving. Wow, Lito. How do we feel about Lito kissing the bartender after just breaking up with Hernando? We've all done this before. We've all kissed the bartender.
Yeah, I don't know. I think on the one hand, it's like, what? But Hernando. But on the other hand, it's like, the point of it is to be a reparative gesture after the horrible thing that he said and the violence that he did to this guy and to himself. And so it kind of works for me for it to be such a passionate, overt flourish of like, yeah, you're fucking sexy. I'm going to kiss you. This is what I want to do. Like, this is the urge that I have. I'm accepting that I'm attracted to you. And also, I can separate that from the fact that I am in love with this particular person. Because, am I understanding it right that Hernando was the first person that Lito had a homosexual relationship with, did I misunderstand that?
I think you understood that correctly. That's how I understood it.
Because then to me, what's significant about this is Lito being able to separate, like, my sexuality is not Hernando. I'm not Hernando sexual, right? Or
yeah.
I'm not totally wrapped up in this guy and he's the end all be all of my sexual identity.
Mm-hmm.
My sexual identity is like this thing that is a part of me that I can affirm for myself. And now I'm going to go be with the man that I love.
I think you make a great point, because in a more heteronormative show, yeah, this would read as a moment of like deep sadness and vulnerability for Lito. Like, oh, you did the forbidden sin, and that's like coming from a society that kind of polices who we have sex with, who we're attracted to, how many people we have sex with or make out with. But it is that it's I'm not coming to Hernando for the hookup. I can do that with whoever I want, including this great bartender. I'm coming to Hernando because he fills my heart with joy and makes me feel complete. And that's why you stay with somebody. So, like, yeah, I think that's a really good read on it. And I don't come out of this feeling like embarrassed for Lito or ashamed of him. It's just like, and I don't even just mean like, oh, we've all done this before, but like, yeah, people would do this. It makes sense to do this in Lito's position. You're confirming for yourself and for your body that, like, I'm not just down bad for this one dude. He matters to me, and I need to get this off my chest a little bit.
Right.
Good moment and good analysis.
Thank you. I like the line, "This is a stolen kiss because these lips belong to another."
Yay!
Yeah. Pretty sexy moment.
Lito plotline makes me fucking feral, dude. I love it so much. I try not to put too much of that on the podcast, but like, I love it very much. Lito pulls up on Joaquin and Daniela, reminding us that this is a telenovela.
Right. Talk about this being a genre piece. Slow-mo, sunglasses. I don't think he was smoking a cigarette, but it had flick the cigarette away energy, which is great. And then we just get into this bare-knuckle brawl with Joaquin, who is frighteningly wiry and precise in his jabs. Yeah. Lito has a hard time until our good friend Wolfgang is like, hey, now it's my turn to do this thing for you, and just beats the crap out of Joaquin.
You help me, I help you. Very simple.
Yeah.
Beats him up, rescues Daniela. She has terrible hair in this scene. I don't know. I guess being married to a straight guy like ruins your hair or something. It's sad. And yeah, I like Wolfgang, like I said earlier, giving him melee attack skills because Sun can't be in the plot right now. And there's just something about like both of them wanting revenge too. It's not just that like Wolfgang can punch, but like he has the motivation behind this, even if it's not for this guy. And like, hey, you exchange help, because so far Capheus hasn't like helped Sun after she helped him beat up those dudes. So it's nice to see it go both ways. But yeah, Daniela's good. They go back to Hernando's place. It's a very tender moment. Like, hey, I'm back. What's up? Do you want me to leave? No. Okay. I still love you, bud. Okay. Yeah, me too. Great. Good. You know how every week either myself or my roommate make a comment and we say, wouldn't it be ridiculous if this happened? And then it happens. This week, my roommate said, oh, nice, Danielle's here. She can take more pictures now. And I was like, no, stop. She knows that the error of her ways. And then she immediately takes more pictures. And I was like, but like, it's fine there. And because he decided it's fine that Joaquin released the photos, he doesn't care anymore if the public knows that he's gay. Except also he beat up Joaquin, so he's probably fine.
Right.
Nice sweet moment. I'm happy the gang is back together. This made me happy.
Very sweet. Yeah, me too. It was like fan service in the very best way when she was like, oh, just taking pictures.
I would do the same.
It's like, yay. Everything's fine now. We don't have to do any more plot anywhere.
Let's just stop. Can we quit it?
Yeah.
Kala's depressed. She visits Capheus in Nairobi. And they watch TV together. This is such a scene written by people who love TV. It felt like we were being pandered to almost.
Yes.
it to the point where Capheus says the line, she's like, why do you have a TV instead of like, how can a TV be more important than a bed? He says, the bed keeps you in the slum. The flat screen takes you out, which, like, I'm face palming. It's so true, though. I hate how true it is. And then
in that same scene, he also says Jean-Claude is the Fred Astaire of martial arts, which is such a take. It's quite something.
Extremely line written by a writer. We talk about that concept a lot, but yeah, like, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, extremely line written by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
In his Wikipedia page, not written by him, allegedly. Yeah. So just trying to enjoy the movie. It's cute. Also, he like name drops his TV. He's like, I love the Samsung SMT 4023. And I was like, what the fuck? Why did you? And it's a real TV. It's out of print. It's out of production these days. But it's real. A brief moment before we get to the last big thing. Sense8s are apparently, according to Jonas, pre-humans. They existed before humans. And I was like, wait, what are they saying about, like, were they like on Earth before? And then Jonas literally goes to Will and is like, I'm telling you a lot of things. Don't worry about it. Focus on whispers. Like, basically tells him not to care. Like, thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah. He says Whispers is going to try to use you to get the rest of the cluster. Angela committed suicide to protect the rest of you. You're going to survive. You have a secret. Humans are disconnected from each other, which has made Sense8s the most successful. Or that's why humans are such successful killers, is because they can detach. And they wouldn't kill each other if they were all Sense8s. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
About the
this,
human
like,
thing?
Yeah, I don't know. About this sort of like there are two different groups of people and the evolution and the human thing and just the kind of sci-fi-ification of this concept.
I'm reading Do Androids Dream with Electric Sheep right now. And the reason that book is so good to me is because it's funny, but also because all of its sci-fi is tangible and feels like it came from a real place. That's like the essence of science fiction. I want to believe in this idea that, like, if we were all Sense8s, we would be better because we would empathize more. I truly believe in that. Coincidentally, Do Androids Dream is also about empathy, very explicitly. But the difference is that Androids imagines a world where, like, here's how this happens. Here's how we get to things like the empathy box and androids. But Sense8, you, Magellan, and I can't become Sense8s. So, like, it's like, wow, wouldn't it be great to live in a fantasy world where a bunch of us could connect to each other? Yeah, I guess. I don't, though. And it's really sad that I don't. But I can try. Yeah. And so I hope that the show, maybe in its second season, kind of, like, just dives a little bit more into what that takes. Like, what can we actually take from the Sense8s and their powers? Is there something useful about it? Or is it all just going to exist in the realm of magical ability borrowing and feeling, sensing, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I can see this show potentially having X-Men style metaphor problems of, like, yeah, mutants are persecuted in this world and also they can shoot lasers out of their eyes. Yeah. So, like, the metaphor only stretches so far or gets muddled by that reality.
But I'm always asking for things to get more tangible, and I don't know if the Wachowskis are going to do that. JMS could do that. He likes making things tangible. So it's kind of a push and pull there. Riley shows her dad ecstasy, and that brings us, I think, to the last scene of the episode.
Yeah, I think we hit Did we talk about Sun?
Oh, not really. What happens with Sun this episode?
Her lawyer shows up, and her lawyer's like, your brother's gonna get totally fucked, and he should probably leave the country. And she's like, okay. That's about it.
Gives the testimony that will lead to Sun's. Her father will give the testimony that might lead to her being free from prison in less than a week. She signs some papers. This is where I was like, it's probably not going to go well. When someone signs papers, it's not good. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, that's the main stuff. And she has a flashback with her mom as well. Okay, so last scene. Riley's father is doing his incredible piano performance as we all enjoy it, us being the Sense8s and us being the viewer. It's a beautiful performance. He's in harmony with the symphony, almost like they're all sensating into each other. And We see a couple things. We see a lot of imagery flashing back to her dad when she was a kid. We learned that while her mom was giving birth, he played the piano into the phone, and they held it up to the baby as it was being born as she crowns. And we watch Riley crown out of her mom, and then we see all 8 people's kind of hammy birthing scenes.
Yeah.
My favorites, Lito's parents watching a telenovela instead of him being born.
Yeah, this scene is on the nose. Like, this is like, yeah.
You know what's the most on the nose one that I almost felt awkward about?
Which one?
I'm reading into this a lot, but it's in the show. They really explicitly show Nomi's cord getting cut. What's going, guys? Gender? What's going on there? What? Sex and gender? You did that on purpose. I feel weird about it.
Well, then they also, the other emphasis of Nomi's is her mom being knocked out and it being a C-section. It's the only C-section that we see.
Oh, interesting.
Which is sort of this like distance from the mother thing.
I didn't realize it was her who was a C-section. God, how do we feel about that? Fuck.
As a C-section baby, I'm offended.
Honestly.
But
your mom's one of the most tender, loving people I've ever known. Like,
yeah, me too. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But I do think, I think what I love about this sequence is that they use this this piece. I can't remember. I looked it up. The title's just like a Allegro in C, whatever. Like, it's not like a thematic. It's not called like The Birth of Venus or whatever. But what they do is this piece has like rises and falls and shifts in tone, and they map different Sense8 births to like the different vibes of things. And I appreciate that they include a birth like Nomi's that feels complicated and a little bit unpleasant and distancing, because, you know, not everybody has like a rapturous experience of birth or good relationships with their parents. And I think they show the emotional range of that pretty well. And then to end with Capheus's, which is the most like, I love my mom so much. She's the most incredible mom, and my birth was the best moment of my life. It's awesome.
It is.
Looking into the sky, sobbing over how great his birth was.
I got doughy-eyed again. Oh boy,
yeah.
Capheus.
Yeah,
he's crying. I'm crying. Wolfgang had a water birth, by the way. Is that why he likes swimming so much?
Right. That was like, okay, sure.
I really meant it at the top of the show. It felt like they said, how can we make childbirth characterful? And it's like, what a strange journey to go down in crafting this scene.
That felt like in the writer's room, they had brainstormed a bunch of different types of births. And then they were like, wait, water birth? Wolfgang's always in the pool. Let's do that. High fives all around.
Yep. We're getting lunch. We're calling it.
Yeah.
Sadly, at the end of this, we learn that Riley actually had a child. That's Luna. That's the child whose grave she saw next to her husband, who both died in a car accident. Luna was being born while the accident was happening.
Wait, really? That's what it was?
I think that's what was happening. And then as the crash happened, she died.
Louise.
Yeah, geez Louise. Yeah. And then...
I'm so confused about Riley's past. Wasn't there also she like went to a mountain to try to freeze to death or something?
Maybe?
Or am I not getting what I saw? I don't know. I got confused. There was a lot of flashbacks.
I agree. It's confusing.
I'll look it up. I'll figure it out.
I want to be careful looking it up because it's going to give you season 2 stuff.
Okay, all right. I won't look it up.
Yeah, be careful. If you do it. Yeah, and then she faints. Because we have to have conflict in the show. We can't just have us enjoying a nice symphony. Riley reacts to all of this and her nose bleeds, and then she passes out during the show. Uh-oh, episode's over. Oops. Stray notes, my friend. Once again, Joaquin says the F slur to Lito this time. It feels more charged, but less emotionalist.
Yeah, because it's passed from the violence we do to ourselves to like
violence done to us.
This like action movie villain who's saying it, and it's lost some of its power because of that shift.
Agreed.
I don't think oh yeah, not really. There's this weird line sometimes when you make a mistake, you've got two choices: you live with it or you fix it. Is Wolfgang's advice to Lito. And it's like, okay. And that's all that Lito needed to hear to go to beat up Joaquin. There's also this mirroring moment where Wolfgang, after he helps, says fighting is easy, fighting is what I do. And I don't love those lines, but I do like this dynamic where both of them detest the thing in themselves that is like what saves the other person.
Right.
And there's something powerful to me about that, about like the thing that we're able to give to people or that they revere in us is like the thing that we feel trapped inside of sometimes. That feels powerful.
That is powerful. I agree. Right. Because Lito wants the ability to actually stand up and fight and do the things he says. And Wolfgang is a Van Damme fan, so he's really good at that. Or a Conan fan. And yet Wolfgang can't fully express his emotions and like say what he wants and do what he wants. And Lito's out here living the high life, his best, gayest life. Yeah.
Right.
It's good shit. That's the meat and potatoes of the episode right there.
Yeah.
Birthing scene. I hope people are watching along with us. It's so cool. It show's weird.
Yeah, great show. Great show.
I'm having a great time. Do you want me to tell you what we're watching next time on Chatz8, Magellan?
Please do.
You know what, bud? I think I'm just about done with season 1 of Sense8. Wait, is that true? Did I make that joke up? Nope, that's it. We're going to be done next week with season 1 of Sense8. The last 2 episodes are called Just Turn the Wheel and the Future Changes. Riley's fate draws nearer, while Capheus and Sun are put to the test. And Wolfgang makes his boldest move yet, showering before he gets in the pool. Thank you. The season finale is called I Can't Leave Her. In the season finale with Riley, In the season finale with Riley, all of the Sense8 skills are needed to give them any chance at survival. I feel like I did pretty good there. I got around it. With Riley dead in the ground. Nope, let me fix that. I'm just kidding. Fun stuff. We're going to be done with season 1. Oh my God, there's no more good. Well, I watched the Christmas special. It's like 2 hours long. After that, I don't know what happens. Occasionally I look at the wiki and I see like this character was a major person in season 2, and I'm like, no, don't look, but they seem interesting. Great, Magellan. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
If people like your voice and they want to hear you on a different podcast, where can they hear you?
Super Smash Echoes. It's a video game podcast I do with my friend Justin. Super Smash Echoes. Check it out. We play video games that are related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise. What about you? Where can people hear you more often?
I'm on a couple podcasts. I'm on Usmar Anime, which is a weekly podcast where my friend Six and I on ScanlineMedia.com review and discuss every episode of Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury as they come out. So if you're into anime or Gundam or mobile suits, you can check that out where you listen to podcasts. We're also bringing back the Hunter's Quorum with the upcoming release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is a podcast where we talk about monsters, whether they be Monster Hunter monsters or Pokemonsters. We're going to be talking about the new Pokemon very soon. I saw some unfortunate looking footage of the new game, and I'm going to play it. I mean, shit, I'm going to play it, but damn, what if Nintendo could make a game on anything other than the Switch? Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it?
If they could make a game on anything other than the Switch?
Like just anything with better graphical capability, or like make the game run better, or
sure.
I'm just starting to see the tears.
Yeah.
Anyways,
well, we'll get to a new console soon.
For sure.
Next couple of years, probably.
I would like to take us to the plug zone if you don't mind.
Please do.
Okay, I will. If you would like to send us questions, comments, concerns, our email address is chatspot@gmail.com. That's ChatZpod. Our Twitter is at ChatzPod, although with Twitter melting down slowly, we might need to move to like co-host Tumblr. We have a Tumblr. We'll keep people posted if that has to change, but Twitter is actively on fire right now. But you can still follow at ChatzPod. It's still there. It's been there for many years. You can get updates about the show. Our subreddit is our ChatzPod. That's where fans talk about the podcast and upload discussions of episodes every week. If you like chats and want to hear more of our fun TV book club show, one of the best ways to support us is with a review or a rating on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, whatever platform you use. That really gets the algorithm in our favor. And if you want to toss us a couple bucks, it really supports us. It's patreon.com/chatspod. You get all sorts of bonus content at $1, $3, and $5 a month over there. $1 and $3 get you different tiers of content like bonus commentaries where we watch movies and talk over them, or Chats Nights where we just talk, or Pilot Chats where we spin a wheel and you make us watch the pilot of a show based on a theme every month. And if you're a $5 patron or more, you get a thank you at the end of every main feed episode, and today that includes the following beautiful humans: Arthur, Jen, Justin, Kat, Lee, Magellan's mom, Marcus, Michael, Nick and Pat of the Brothers at Infinite War, Six, and of course, Stefan. Thank you all for supporting Chats. We really appreciate you. All things Chats, a television podcast, can be found at chatspod.com. If you like our main feed art, it's done by our friend Camilla, who can be found at Camillastrator on the platforms. And that's the plug zone. But before we go, our final segment is called Chatsums, just like the Vlasic Snack'em Pickles. We give you a little bit of something to chew on before next Chats episode. Every week, everybody on the episode does a chatsum or 2 or 3. So, Magellan, what is your chatsum this week?
I have been watching Game of Thrones.
What is that?
I thought it's so okay. Imagine a world where the seasons are just a little bit longer than you might think.
Okay.
And everybody's a little bit grumpy.
Okay.
But they also like to fuck.
Okay.
And that's Game of Thrones. I've never watched the show in its entirety, as was discussed in our House of the Dragon episodes. And that watching House of the Dragon either made me interested in watching Game of Thrones, or it made the YouTube algorithm think that I was interested, and then it gave me a bunch of Game of Thrones clips, and then I got interested. It's one of those two things, but I don't know
chicken or the egg.
Right. But now I'm watching the show. I'm partway through season 1, and I'm having a good time.
That's awesome.
And since we're not watching it for Chats, I get to spoil everything. And nobody can get mad at me for it.
I can still get mad at you for it.
I know everything that's going to happen.
Littlefinger be like.
Littlefinger do be like. I would play Littlefinger if I was in the show. That's what I decided to.
I would play Varys, so we could both be sneaky, nasty men together.
Oh, what a fun time that would be.
I know. Let's make it happen.
Okay, let's do it. What about you? What's your chatsum?
My chatsum is doing a Game of Thrones parody with your best friend. No, I've been like letting myself fall back into some old rabbit holes recently. I find that when I'm at my least comfortable or least settled, it really helps me to like go to old habits, whether they be good or less good, I guess. But these aren't toxic habits. They're just games I used to play and love very much. I've been getting back into a couple like gotcha games on my phone, which are like free to play, like, you know, get the new character games. So shout outs to World Flipper, which is a pinball gotcha game. Shout outs to Dragalia Lost, which was my favorite back in 2018, and it's shutting down on November 30th. So I think it's almost gone when you are listening to this. Let me check that. Nope, you got 3 days. Download it, play it for 3 days. They're like giving up the ghost. Everything's free in there. It's sick. You can't put money into it. It's sad to see a gotcha game die. But and also I started playing Marvel Snap because I keep hearing talk about it.
Yeah, my friend Carson was playing that.
It's surprisingly accessible. It's like a very short form card battling game where there's 3 territories and you're placing cards to control the number on each one by having a stronger strength level. Matches are done in like between 2 and 5 minutes. They're so quick And that was the sell for me that I was like, I could try this. It's free. It's on my phone. Try it. It's a free-to-play game, so be aware there's like, free-to-play things. It doesn't seem too bad about that stuff, though, because you can't like buy card packs. So it's interesting. I tentatively recommend Marvel Snap. And then just the last one, the ultimate, Alan is on their bullshit again. I started playing World of Warcraft again.
Stop it. Yes.
The new expansion looks so fucking good. One of my colleagues at work, come play with me.
Colleagues.
One of my colleagues at work. Well, because she's my co-worker's boss, but she's in my department, so I don't know. What would you call her? A colleague.
Yeah.
I go into her office, I ask her some work stuff, and I'm like, so not work related. Are you still playing WoW? And she's like, yo, dude, I got Dragonflight. I've been leveling my character. And I was like, oh my God. Is it good? And she was telling me about it, and I was like, damn it. They made an expansion that's like How to Train Your Dragon, the video game. You can play as people who transform into dragons. It's fucking awesome. I felt so much warmth and nostalgia coming back to I have had the same character, for folks who don't know, since I was 14 years old. They are still running. And speaking of gender and the flexibility of identity, since I stopped playing, they made sex changes free. You don't have to pay money to change your gender or sex anymore.
Wow, thank you. Good work.
My character I've had since I was 14 is a girl now. And like, I know it's corny and like whatever.
That's so cool.
It made me so happy.
That's special.
It warmed my heart. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is just awesome.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft gets my Chatz8 this week. That's my main one. So
that's great. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Magellan, for being the doula to my crowning baby head. I made a face. I'm grossing myself out, guys. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Chatz8. Peace.